that have transformed it to such a degree in so many wonderful ways that I probably never would have experienced if I hadn't gotten sick. Now, of course, it's better to not have to wait till you're sick. Then you don't have to change as much, and then you don't have to go through all that suffering. But we're coming at this from different perspectives, but with the same idea, that we can use the experience of suffering as a doorway for transforming our lives for the better.
Dr. Ornish is a regular speaker at Tony Robbins' Life and Wealth Mastery Program. Set in an awe-inspiring tropical paradise, this event is designed to help you improve health and vitality, reestablish your inner balance, and master your finances too. To learn more, visit www.tonyrobbins.com/events. Have you ever wondered, how does Tony do it? He's on a plane every 3 days, traveling to events around the world, and he's on stage for 8, 10, even more hours at a time. If you've ever been to one of his events, you know that the sheer amount of energy that he brings to the audience is unparalleled. In fact, Tony burns 9,500 calories a day, which is the same as 2 marathons, and he jumps over 1,000 times on stage, the equivalent of 2 NBA games. So how is it that Tony's able to achieve peak performance even as he's getting to the life stage that most people start to slow down, and still have the energy to run a dozen companies, be present with his loved ones, and contribute substantial time and energy to the causes he cares most about? You're about to hear from Tony's personal trainer, Billy Beck, who travels the world with him. Billy is one of the world's most elite trainers and has even been elected to the Fitness Hall of Fame. Billy is interviewed by Mary Buckheit, Tony's right arm and creative partner. Billy and Mary B have accompanied Tony and Sage Robbins on the road around the world for 7 years, supporting them as they travel to events, sharing strategies for lasting change with hundreds of thousands of people in over a dozen countries each year. Here's Mary and Billy.
You are, of course, Tony's personal trainer. So you keep the big guy healthy and in top shape. And I wish I could help people understand what you really do, because Tony Robbins' personal trainer is impressive, but it still doesn't even really do it justice. Anything that he does with his big body pretty much goes through Billy Beck first. So we are all so very grateful to you, Billy. And Tony would be the first person to tell you guys this. Tony really couldn't do what he does without Billy's help. You're also Sage's trainer, and you're mine too. And I tell our listeners that on the upfront because I just want to give you guys the sense that while Billy is well known for training hulking specimens like The Rock and Vladimir Klitschko and Mr. America and Tony Robbins, he's not just all about big beef. Billy, you are also incredibly skilled, and you're able to train with precision all kinds of body types, all kinds of humans across the board. And if you have been to an event, you know it's not unusual for Tony to be on stage for like 12 hours at a time, because Billy takes care of Tony before, during, and after the event. No one knows the ins and outs of Tony and how he does it like Billy does. One topic that's kind of hot these days is the morning routine.
Oh, yeah. That's everything.
That's
right?
everything. Priming him to get his body going, because as much as he's like superhuman and his mindset is always on point and he always has his purpose etched into his soul, tell us a little bit about what you do with Tony for his morning routine and you yourself, just so people get a sense of not just like the Tony Robbins model might not be for everyone, but even you, Billy Beck, what do you do? What keeps you in peak performance?
So when I wake up, I always wake up and I pray. I have a very specific way I do it. I do some breath work to get my workout started, and I set an intention when I work out. And my intention isn't like, I want to be ripped and six-pack and stuff like that. That's always the side effect. If that is your main purpose for training, eventually you'll stop doing it because it won't have meaning to it at some point. Sometimes people get married, and if you're trying to attract a mate and then you get married, you're like, I don't need to do it so much. And you see it all the time, right? And you see people drop off. They gain some weight and stuff because that isn't a real purpose. You have to have a really big purpose for doing things. And my purpose is to tap into my high self so I can be my best for my family, my friends, for Tone, for you, for Sage, and for all the people at the event and everyone I bump into that day. Because if I'm off, I don't want to treat someone poorly. And that's the reason, like Tone would say, to live in a beautiful state. But that's the thing you have to train. Most people exercise is like, I have to exercise. And the difference psychologically between a child and an adult is their language in a lot of ways. So a child says, I have to do this. A lot of people talk about that with exercise. They say, I have to do this. And if I don't, I'll get fat. Or if I don't, I won't be able to eat what I want to eat. You're setting yourself up for failure there. But when you say, I choose to do this because I want to do this, because this is who I am, and I'll accept nothing less than my best, and I won't live a life of regret. When I look back on this day, I'm going to look back and be like, I gave everything I got. That's really what I think success is. And then with Tone, everything is structured. We'll wake up the big guy. Right away, I have his nutrients. So we use lab testing and muscle testing as a double check of what goes into his morning drink. That's like an adrenal support, mitochondrial support cocktail, we would call it. And that varies what's in it. Then we would use a PMF machine and a laser machine, near infrared red light laser. That's like phase one. And then I'm working on his body. I'm balancing his muscles at the same time. We may use
using applied kinesiology.
Yeah,
Is that,
yeah,
okay.
like that's for a simpler term.
Okay.
But I'm like pushing on his muscles to see if they're locking in or not. If they're not locking in, I'll do something manually to get them to lock in. I'll change the tension in the muscle, or if the joint is compressed, we'll decompress the joint. This is all very precise things we're doing. And then we'll do Dr. Tennant's device. He has this device with a wand on it that resets the body. So we do that, and then we'll continue to do other body work to make sure all the muscles are firing. Then we'll eat some food. So everything's very structured in what we eat. If it's an event, we'll probably have oatmeal with blueberries in it and some walnuts. What we'll do after that is we'll do some Egoscue stuff to further balance the body and also get some movement going. We may bounce on the rebounder a little bit, and then we'll do cryo, and then he gets the shower, comes out and preps, and we'll give him some nutrient cocktail before he goes on stage, and then boom.
Boom, through the curtain.
Through the curtain.
But I love that, like, everybody who's listening, even if you don't have a Billy Beck at home, pulling on your limbs and balancing your body, you can wake up, you can do your Egoscue exercises, bounce on your rebounder, oatmeal, walnuts, blueberries, adrenal support. I don't want to oversimplify it either, because Tony does use a lot of cutting edge modalities, things that top athletes, top people have access to. Tony researches it and puts you on it, and you research it, and you guys get access and find inroads into like the best of the best in recovery and in training and all of it, nutrition, you name it. One thing that has been hot this year, let's say, that's come into my awareness, I'm sure you've known about it forever, is this idea of voltage.
Oh, yeah, Dr. Jerry Tennant.
Yes.
Yeah, he's brilliant. He is the best doctor I've ever met, and I've met over 1,000 doctors even. I always thought this. I remember being in 8th grade and learning about the human body and saying like, okay, so there's electrical impulse that's generated in the brain, goes down the spinal cord, goes out every nerve that innervates every cell in your body. That sounds like that electrical impulse is important. And no one ever talks about it. And then it was like 2000, 2001. I saw an article from Dr. Jerry Tennant, and I'm like, wow,